Alright, so this is the introduction to my new format philosophy on this channel. So I changed the name to Patrick Blank Philosophy. This is going to be hard, okay? But I'm going to just wing it like I do everything else. This is my shop behind me, my flint knapping and various other bushcraft related activities shop back here, in case you're wondering. Alright, so I'm going to start out with questions that I wrote down. Simple questions, okay? First one, let's see. Alright, first one, what is morality? Okay? Morality is, for me, this is my opinions on this channel. I'm not going to source anything other than my own opinion unless I specifically source it first. So if I say something, it's my opinion. I'll source it first before, in the beginning, if it's someone else's opinion. I'll tell you whose opinion it is. Okay, this is all my opinions. All right. In my opinion, morality is rationality. It's the same thing. Rationality is morality. Okay, it's hard to put your mind around that sometimes. My son tells me that he can't wrap his head around that. But look at it this way. What's the alternative to rationality? Irrationality. Is irrationality moral if you're not rational? Is that moral? No. So it becomes easier if you look at the alternative. Now, does that mean that unless it is a step-by-step mathematical or logical sequence rationality, unless it's that way, is it moral? Or is anything that way moral? No, that's just the basis. Rationality, you can come up with all kinds of weird things like paradoxes that follow with a logical sequence or the structure, and it's nonsense. Okay, we are able to formulate the rules of logic. Okay, from those rules of logic, we can have a basis for searching for truth. We can have a basis for what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's bad. So if rationality is the basis, why is there differentiation between morality and rationality? So rationality is morality, in my opinion. That's what I consider to be morality. We can go back to the structure, the laws of logic, the way we search for truth as a basis for morality. And we don't need to make a difference between the two. There's no reason why we separate the two, except for this reason. Authoritarians do not want you to be able to come up with morality on your own. They want to dictate what it is. They don't want you to understand the rules of logic. They don't want you to understand how to be reasonable or how to use reason and be independent thinkers. They want to control what is good and evil. So they must separate morality from rationality. They don't see, if rationality is morality, morality comes from education. To become educated, to become knowledgeable, your morality will come from that. They don't want that as far as authoritarians go. I'll talk a lot about authoritarians in my philosophy. Okay, you'll find that out. The basis for morality, if it's rationality, can be taught. And those rules don't change, ever, no matter what the culture is. They don't ever change. The search for truth, there are certain ways to search for truth, and it'll always come back to certain ways. And one of the main tests that you have for truth is the test itself. If any morality tells you, do not test me, it's not rational, it's not moral, and that source is not moral. Rationality incorporates testing to see its results. It's results aware. It has consequential knowledge. Rationality has consequential knowledge as part of its structure. Okay, you have to know if you do X, Y, Z, this comes out the other end. Okay? All right. Rationality is morality. Morality is rationality. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Next one. What is the meaning of life? Okay. Life is very interesting. First of all, we have to say to ourselves, or ask ourselves, why is life necessary? What does it provide? Matter, because I'm composed of matter. Why do I need to be alive? Why does anything need to be alive? The matter can exist in its state without life. It can just exist. Why is life necessary? We can ask that question. As part of the answer. The answer to that question is part of the answer to what is the meaning of life. Well, we know that life exists. It's part of what the universe can produce. We know that we are alive. Now we can get into philosophical debates on how do you know you're alive? How do you know? Some philosophers say just the act of thinking and being aware of your thoughts indicates that you're alive. Okay? But there's other ways to know. We'll get into that later. But anyway, the meaning of life, if you search for a meaning, you're searching for a human construct or a societal construct. The meaning is a construct, but it's specifically human. If you look at other life forms, they don't ask what the meaning of life is. And knowing the meaning of life is not relevant to them. They don't search for the meaning of life, and they carry on. And they will carry on many times past our lifespans. And carry on probably after our species becomes extinct. There'll be other life forms. There are other species that have longer life as far as the species goes than our species. There have been animals on the earth of a certain species. Rhinoceros comes to mind, the first thing in my head, because I was amazed at how many millions of years the rhinoceros family tree has been around. 80 million years or something. That's like 20 times longer than we have been around. And they don't know the meaning of life. It's not necessary to know. It's a human construct and a human question, and I believe it's a question that leads us down the road of mental unwellness. To even search for the meaning leads to mental unwellness, because there's no final answer at the end of the road unless you submit yourself to someone else's answer. That's the thing. What you're doing when you're asking the meaning of life is you're making the people who will give you the meaning of life go, I got these people asking me what the meaning of life is. And they tell you. And then you say, okay, I'm going to follow that meaning. It's a manipulative tool. Asking what the meaning of life is just inviting yourself to be manipulated by somebody, because it's a human construct. Don't ask. It's not necessary. If you have a pet Okay, let's say you have a pet cat or dog. Just look at them and ask them what the meaning of life is. It's ridiculous, right? It doesn't matter. If you want to make it special, your life special, it's not a difficult thing. If someone ruins your life and your past is full of junk, what does the brain do to recover from stress? If you've ever hit bottom, what does your brain do? It starts to get amnesia and forget all that stuff. Part of the healing process when you're traumatized is to lose the memories. That's part of the healing process. You are not your memories. In other words, to become healthy, you need to make sure your memories are in the right category. Your memories are not you. Now, other philosophers will say that is you, but that's not you. Your memories are not you. Because part of the healing process is to forget those things. Why would the brain try to forget those things to heal if it wasn't a healing type of thing? All right? Don't look to your memories as the meaning of life. You have to look at your life right now. Okay? Another related question is, who am I? What am I? What part of me is me? Okay, you could say that everything is me. Yeah, but what about the skin cells that fly off in the wind? Is that me too? Am I all over the place? What about the hair that falls out and leaves its traces everywhere? Is that me? It's part of me? No, that's not you. The physical aspect creates a structure for you, and you happens in the brain. The structure for you happens in the brain. The same with other animals as well. They develop consciousness and personalities and stuff. You are a projection of the structure of your physical structure, your projection. Okay? This structure allows us to be aware of ourselves. There's a complex thing going on in the brain where we can actually see ourselves, okay, and talk to ourselves and be aware of ourselves. It's like a dual thing where the brain projects something and the brain can see what it's projecting. Okay? But what makes us who we are? What can I pinpoint what I am, who I am? And not just because I'm aware of myself, that means that's me. My awareness is me. No, not necessarily. Your awareness is part of it, but who you are is the thing that makes decisions. Makes a decision between one thing or the other. You are the arbiter, the choice maker between deciding one thing or another thing. And that ties into the meaning of life, or the purpose of life, or what life is. Life allows matter to make decisions to preserve itself, or to pursue a goal, or whatever. It's a decision-making apparatus. You are the arbiter. You are the choice maker. You are the one that can see the options and make a choice. That is you. Authoritarians don't want you to know that is you. They want to make the choice. That way, that's why it's not discussed that you are the choice maker, but you are the choice maker. You are the decision maker. That is you. It's in the brain, right? But that is you. If you want to know who you are the thing that makes the choices. That's you. Consciousness is required for that. You need consciousness of some sort on some level to make that choice. Now, some philosophers get into determinism and that sort of thing. We know from quantum physics that quantum physics gives us some indication that determinism is not a thing. All right, but we're not going to get into that aspect. Determinism is false for a couple other reasons. One is, if you have two identical choices, identical, and you choose one over the other, determinism can't explain why you made the choice because they're identical. The reason you chose this is identical to the reason you chose this, or you would have chose this, because they're identical options. If they're identical, determinism can't explain why you made that choice. That's one thing. All right. The other thing is determinism is linked to cause and effect, right? Causation effects. There are ways to show that there are effects without causes and causes without effects. One of the easiest ways to have an effect without a cause is, let's say that I see someone pointing a gun getting ready to shoot someone else. They're pulling on the trigger and they're going to shoot somebody. I slap the gun down and prevent that person from getting shot. I prevent that person. Now you're going to say, well, I just saved that person's life. You think about it, I didn't cause anything in that person's life for them to continue living. I'm not a cause of their continuation of life. I just eliminated something that would have stopped their life. But I didn't cause the continuation of their life, therefore I didn't really save their life. That causation chain is different than mine. I didn't interact with that causation chain that they have in their life. I just prevented their death. Didn't mean that doesn't in that instance I didn't save their life in that instance, because saving their life would be an effect, right? Let's see if I can say this correctly. Saving their life is an effect, but the cause is not me. You see what I'm saying? There is no link there. There is an effect that I slapped down the gun and they didn't die. That's an effect, but I didn't cause their continuation of their life. So cause and effect doesn't make sense there. Okay? There is an effect, but I didn't cause it. I didn't cause their continuation of their life. Okay, I think that I'm hoping that was okay. I'll go into that later. Hoping that explanation was all right. Another thing about cause and effect is the infinite regress. If everything has a cause, we can keep going back and back and back. This has a cause, and that cause has a cause. That cause has a cause. It go all the way back, but it doesn't explain where everything started. Obviously, if the universe is a finite thing, where it started somewhere, you can't have infinite regress. It has to stop somewhere. It has to stop somewhere if there's a finite amount of time that the universe existed. So, in cause and effect scenario, what caused the initial existence? Well, if it just has a finite amount of time where it just stops, there is no cause before that. It just stops right there. So that's the flaw. That's one of the flaws in cause and effect. You can't have an infinite regress because nature and the universe doesn't work that way. There is no infinite regress. Now you could say the universe has existed forever. Well, we don't even know if that's possible. Does it look like it would exist forever in the future? No, it doesn't look like it's going to exist forever in the future. The universe is expanding. All matter will eventually dissipate and radiate into nothingness. Okay? And the next universe is going to come from who knows where. So we know that there's an ending, or we're seeing evidence that there's an ending to the universe because it eventually will dissipate. where is the next universe coming from, if any? And then, if all the previous universes have dissipated and disappeared, why are we here? What started us? Okay, we can see our ending. The more we study, the more we can see that the universe will end. All right, so I'll not explain too much on that either. All right, I'll get more into it. Just ask the questions down in the comment section. All right, and then I'll try to expand later. I'm trying to cram all this in one short video. 20 minutes already. All right, let's see. How do you know something is true? How do you know? Quote unquote, know. Well, you know something is true if you're looking at, I don't know, if you're looking at something obvious. There's different ways of defining truth, right? To know that something is true is like a proof, right? And people go back to looking at mathematics. Well, you can prove something in mathematics and then you know it's true. Mathematics is not a good tool for pursuing truth. It's not a good one. It's an okay one. It's a tool. It doesn't reflect all of reality, and it doesn't give insights into all of reality. Mathematics can create paradoxes. It can create things that don't exist. It creates mathematical conveniences where you can solve something by using a convenience, but it doesn't really exist. It's just something that you can manipulate the symbols and not manipulate the symbols, but manipulate the meaning of the symbols. And just because it exists in a symbology and we can create a structure, it'll produce a result. But we're just kind of manipulating the symbology to get a result. It's not something that is, how should I say, something that is in actual existence. It's just what they call mathematical convenience. Let's just leave it at that. All right. So, how do you know something is true? It's easier to know when it's not true, if we can find an exception to, let's say, a statement. Truth is usually something that lines up with the facts. A statement that lines up with the facts. That's a simple definition, but it's a little bit too vague. Right? It's just, the truth is what lines up with the facts. Now, a lot of times we can't find the truth. It's elusive. Either we don't have enough knowledge, we don't know what to test for, we don't even know if it exists in reality. We can think about it, but we don't know if it's actually true in reality. One way to know is to test, right? Do a test to see if it actually happens after a test. Like, is it true I can start a fire by rubbing 2 sticks? Is that true? Yeah, by testing it. Is it true you can start a fire by creating sparks? Yeah. All right, those are the easy things. Is it true that God exists and stuff like that? Well, there's got to be tests, right? If you can't test it, you can't start approaching the truth. It has to be tested. Testing the hypothesis has to be done in a certain way as well. You can't just test it to see if you can create results in some other way that look like what this is doing. That's not what I really mean by testing. You take the thing and you try to make it fail, or you look for exceptions. That's how you test it. You're not trying to test something else over here and produce a result and say, okay, now I have support for why this thing exists. No, you take this thing and you test it to see if there's any exceptions to your statements about it. Because contrary evidence is stronger than supporting evidence. Contrary evidence is stronger than supporting evidence because If I say it's raining outside, is that true? You look outside and it's not raining. No. It's not raining. There's no rain. So that's not true. I need to think of a good example here. The contrary evidence is the absence of rain. Right? It was very difficult to test something in that way, but that's the way to do it. Let me think of a good example, or I'm gonna try to think of a good example. If you make a statement that you think is true, it could come from anywhere. It can come from your imagination. You can make it up. You can do anything you want. If it's definitely not true, it should be easy to disprove. Like, it's raining out, and you can easily open the window and say, look, there's absence of rain. That's not true. A lot of times it's not that easy. If you can bring positive evidence that it's something else, let's say, then you know it's not true. If you bring evidence that shows it is true, like, well, I know, let's say that the leaves on that tree are green, right? And you bring evidence, here's a leaf, it's green, and then bring another leaf from that tree. They're all green. All these leaves are green. That's bringing positive evidence in support of that. Those leaves on that tree are green. So you just keep bringing green leaves and green leaves and green leaves. To test to see if that's true, you look to see if there's a leaf that's not green. All right, I see a leaf over there. It's not green. See, look, it's brown. It's a simple explanation, but no, it's not true that the leaves are green because I just found a brown one. And I'll find another brown one, and I'll find another one, and I'll find another one. So all the supporting evidence, let's say there's 10,000 leaves on that tree. You have 9,999 leaves in a pile. See, that's my supporting evidence that the leaves are green. And I have one that's not. Which is stronger, that pile of leaves or that one? That one, because it's the exception. The leaves are not all green on that tree. I have one right here that's brown. Okay, that's the power of contrary evidence. We get closer to the truth by knowing what the contrary evidence is. If it stands up to a contrary, if I can't find any other leaf on the tree that's a different color, then it's true that all the leaves are green, or the leaves on that tree are green. If I can't find any contrary evidence to that, then yeah, that's true. It's not true just because I gather up all the leaves and I show you, look at them all, they're all green. That's not going to suffice for knowing the truth. You have to test and see, are there exceptions? So you know the truth by knowing the exceptions, if there are any. And the more it stands up, the more the thing stands up to scrutiny, the more it stands up to tests. If it passes a test, if it passes a scrutiny, sincere, powerful scrutiny, then we're getting closer to the truth. That's how you know the truth, if it stands up to scrutiny. Now again, I'm going to talk about authoritarians. They don't like scrutiny. They're resistant to scrutiny. That means they're resistant to truth. They will provide all the proof you want as far as supporting evidence, but they will not listen to contrary evidence. And there's a reason for that, right? They want to control the truth. And that's one way to control the truth, by ignoring the contrary evidence. A lot of times they can get away with it, but you've got to be able to, as an adult, look for the exceptions. And yes, some of them are anecdotes. But yes, you have to be careful with anecdotes. You have to be careful with your experiences and make sure that it's actually something that is good evidence and not fake. All this stuff can be abused with fake evidence. You can bring forth a fake exception, right? And all that stuff. Have to be careful with the truth. Very careful, very adult in dealing with the truth, and very sincere and have integrity. All right, all this kind of stuff, all those good aspects are usually seen as naive and, childish in today's society, or in most societies. People will laugh at you, go, okay. They are, unfortunately, humans are prone to authority figures, prone to generating authority figures, generating authoritative posture. So they'll laugh at you for bringing up the exception. They'll diminish your anecdote. They'll diminish a pile of evidence that's negative compared to a huge pile that's positive, and that sort of thing. Okay, that's an abuse of power. Okay, when you try to control the truth. Anyway, truth is a big subject. All right, so I'm going to cut it there. It's 30 minutes already. I don't want these videos to go longer than 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm going to review this video. I'll probably post it no matter what. But yeah, it's an introduction to the philosophy channel. And I'll probably wing it every single time I'm doing it too. I want to know the subject well enough to just speak off the cuff. I'll have the questions. I'll probably do this question and answer stuff all the time. Because it's easy format now that I'm used to it. Because I've been doing it for years. But I'll probably just wing it and make mistakes during the video and during my explanations. But that'll just be part of how I approach this. So we can have some dialogue in the description box, in the comment section, and that sort of thing. All right. Hope you enjoyed it. That's it.